so much for being here. Today we're talking about maximizing GrantStation. Can I say that again? We're going to learn how to maximize GrantStation, and we're going to explore some new tools and features for nonprofits. If you're new here today, I'm going to show you how you can engage. This is being recorded. There are no slides, so you're going to get the recording, and you're going to be so excited to get this recording. This is something you want to keep evergreen, like forever and ever and ever. So we're going to send the recording later today. If you need the closed caption, just tap on the CC button at the bottom of your screen. There's going to be a survey that's going to pop up. It's just two questions. If you take a moment to fill out those two questions, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm going to turn this over to Jeremy Smith because that's who you're here. That's who you're here. Yeah, I said it right. To see today.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, Jeremy is from GrantStation. He's a learning and engagement specialist, and he's going to take us in. So, Jeremy, have a great webinar. Thanks for being here today.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me and having us. Actually, I've got two other people here with me. I'll introduce them in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so you can actually see what I've got to show you today. And in that case, that is going to be GrantStation. So let me go ahead and start off by checking in with my cohort here, Carrie. Carrie, can you currently see the screen? That's very important to me that you can tell me that, Carrie.
I can. Looks great.
Okay, and there's Carrie, and you'll be hearing more from her in just a second. But let me say hello again and welcome everyone to today's sort of look at the GrantStation website, how to maximize your searches and how to use GrantStation most effectively to find funding, and also all kinds of great little tools and tips. That's what we're going to be going over today. And one thing that we're going to do is really provide you an overview of all of GrantStation's features, along with that specific look at how you can find funders on the website. Carrie is joining me today. She's our Director of Research, and also joining me is Kevin Peters. He's our Vice President of Research. You'll hear more from him a little bit later on. He'll be answering all your grant-related questions in the chat. In fact, his favorite thing in the world is to try to be stumped by someone asking him a grant-related question. Him and Carrie have been with GrantStation for a very long time, and they know pretty much everything there is to know about research, which is why I have them with me on these webinars, because I know not that much about research, but I know how to use GrantStation. So we thought combining these two tastes in one, sort of a chocolate peanut butter type thing, hopefully you're not allergic, those two things together taste great and give you the type of information that you need to find funding for your organization. Now, please feel free to ask those questions that you've got. The chat section is great for them, but probably the best place to put them is the Q&A. Then we can track them easier, and there's a good chance we'll be able to answer your question because we can go back to it. Because when you have a lot of people here like we do today, often the chat becomes like a ticker tape and we can't quite see everything. So Q&A is the best spot to put your questions if you have any as they're coming in. So before we get into the grant searches, let me explain a little bit about what we do at GrantStation and sort of show you around our main sections. So GrantStation features a set of searchable databases that are filled with current grant opportunities. We also provide various tools that you can use and tutorials on grant seeking and writing, and we keep you up to date on the latest philanthropic trends. So in short, GrantStation membership helps you find grant makers and funding opportunities. We help you build a strong grant-seeking program. We help you write powerful proposals, and then we help you win awards to fund your mission. Now, one thing that really differentiates us from other databases out there is our policy of only listing active funders. It's very important. That is, these are funders, they're listed in our database only if they accept unsolicited applications, letters of inquiry, or some other sort of unsolicited communication. Also, a GrantStation membership includes handcrafted funder profiles with the human touch. Our research team updates and adds content on a daily basis, so you know you're really seeing only the latest available information. This way you know you're sort of getting a hot list of funding sources that have been vetted by our researchers and are actively accepting requests. So think of us as your personal backroom research team. We're pre-screening funders and feeding you the most relevant ones for your program or project. Now, more than ever right now, especially in sort of this phase of government uncertainty, having an affordable, professional grade type of tool to help secure funding to empower your mission is really the key to your organization's sustainability. GrantStation membership will be $119 for 2 days only. That's February 11th and 12th. And you can simplify your grant search and you can achieve meaningful impact with the GrantStation membership. So that's my hard sell for GrantStation. The rest of today is all about what you can do with GrantStation and seeing if it's a good fit for your specific needs and your organization. Let's turn to the process of finding funding for our organization. How do you go about identifying the best grant makers to approach? Well, an important part of your membership at GrantStation, and one we're going to talk about many times today, is your custom dashboard. You can find your dashboard right up here along the top where it says My Dashboard. I'll go ahead and click on Projects for right now. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what's there, but we're going to come back later to look at each of these features in greater detail. So the Projects tab we'll go over in just a second. Saved criteria is where you can save your searches here at GrantStation. Save grant makers or any specific grant makers that are a good fit for you. You can save them here. Also, My Plan allows you to create a calendar to guide yourself as you're figuring out what needs to be done for a given fundraiser or for a funding organization. You also can find reports here. This is where you can find any reports you've saved from our website and our tool features. Our PathFinder is where you have any resources saved from using the PathFinder tool. Courses or any courses you purchased for our online on-demand types of education that we have, orders or anything you've purchased within GrantStation, and My Profile is a very important section where you can change your username, your email, number of emails you receive. All that can be done through the My Profile section. So let's talk about how to prepare to do your research. We encourage anyone looking for funding to always do a little preparation before really diving into that research. Now, our projects tab that we're on right here and our various search terms, which we'll talk about in a second, will really help you be more effective and efficient in your research. So if we go ahead and scroll down, I'm going to show you a project I already created, and that's for our animal welfare project. Go ahead and open this one right now. For today's webinar, I put together a little scenario, and it's a project that focuses on expanding pet adoptions, spaying, neutering, and animal cruelty interventions. Now, some of the animals within our organization are rehabilitated and trained as emotional support animals for seniors at independent and assisted living centers in the community. So the first tab we have selected right here is our description. And your project description doesn't have to be fancy. It's really a high-level overview of what you're doing with your project. Up next is a statement of need. This will be used to identify keywords to help guide you through your research. And then you also have the budget section. You're going to want to itemize any specific budget needs. This will include brand names where possible, as this can really help you identify product donations as well. Once this part is complete, you can really think about the geographic scope of your project. Now, our project is working within and throughout Pennsylvania. I went ahead and clicked on geographic scope now here at the top. To make sure we receive custom alerts based on our project information, we have to go ahead and choose North America, USA, and in this case, our focus, which is on Pennsylvania. If we skip this step, we'll not receive any custom email announcements. And these email announcements are based on the information you select here in the project tab. And just a quick note, you don't have to make a project, but it makes things so much more organized. It ties into the dashboard and lets you really sort of streamline your grant seeking. And it will save you so much time just taking a little bit of time and making a project. Again, you don't have to. I'm just showing you the best way we feel to use GrantStation to its fullest extent. Now, the next thing I want to take a look at is our specific areas of interest. And as part of primary research, which is that actual discovery of potential funding sources, we really encourage members to familiarize themselves with our search terms. I can go ahead and click on the glossary of search terms right here and show you what this looks like. Occasionally, you'll be doing a search and it won't yield any practical results. And often that's caused by not having the right search term. So all of our search terms that we have on this page contain descriptions of the key terminology used on our website, and it's the exact same terminology used by the grant makers themselves. And this really serves as a great guide when doing your keyword research. So to use this area, you simply enter in a keyword to see which categories to check while searching. Then you make a note of this on your project tab. And now you know you're on the same page as the grant maker. So we're doing work with animals, correct? So let's go ahead and type in that keyword of animals. And while I'm typing that in, Carrie, I'm going to put you in the spot, or on the spotlight, I suppose, and tell me the exact number of areas of interest that we have within our website. Exact number, Carrie.
Exact
Exactly.
number.
Exact number.
I'd have to do a quick count. There are around 230 or so.
So there are quite a few different areas of interest, and they're broken down into main categories such as, environment and animals, arts, culture, and humanities, etc. And then there's subcategories within that. So I did a search right now for animal, and seeing it popped up the category head of environment and animals, which is just highlighted. And animal welfare is the area I want to look into, mainly because that includes spay and neuter programs. It also includes companion animal programs. It includes animal protection and welfare, shelter programs, animal abuse, cruelty prevention. All this is included under the animal welfare search term. So now that you have that search term, you can take that anywhere you want to go. Ideally, you'll do it all on GrantStation, but now you know what the funders are calling it. This is what the grant maker calls this type of research. So if you're doing work with spaying and neutering programs, you'd want to do searches for animal welfare. But looking at some of the other areas, animal also pulls up endangered species. That's not really a focus for us. But here under health and wellness, this is something interesting. That also includes animal-assisted therapy and service dogs. And we're basically, providing canine-assisted therapy for seniors living in assisted living homes. So this is another area we want to go ahead and take a look at, make a note of this on our project tab, and now we're on the same page as the grant maker. So let's go ahead and scroll back up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and close this window. It'll take us back into our project and look at some of the areas we've selected here. So we have environment and animals, general selected, animal welfare, animal assisted therapy service dogs, but also mental health. So you'll want to think strategically about your project, any project that you have, and the impact it'll make. So in our scenario, while the animals are the initial beneficiaries of the project, as you can see, we have those selected right here. Seniors will also be benefiting, and their mental health will be benefiting. So we've added health and wellness, and specifically mental health. And we've also added health and wellness, animal-assisted therapy service dogs. Now, if we click on target populations, we can now narrow in to a specific targeted population, really. So in our case, we're focused on seniors and the aging, but maybe we're doing work with children and youth, maybe something focused on low-income folks, or maybe we're focusing on veterans or military affairs. These are all things that can be used to narrow down your search, so you're receiving email notices that fit your specific need. And then after target populations, we have specific types of support. So this is where you can narrow down the types of funding that you're looking for. So maybe you're just looking for equipment or general operating support. Or in our case, we're also looking for product donations and maybe even training programs. But there's lots of different types of support you can choose from, which includes capital and building funds, capacity building. Maybe you're looking for funds for a film and video project, or maybe just general operating support, or it's a brand new organization, you need grassroots support for that. You're trying to find matching grants. Maybe you need funding for startup purposes, or just technology, computers, and software. These are all areas that you can search through here at GrantStation when you're doing your grant research. So now that you've identified sort of the key and most relevant search terms. And in fact, we do also have keywords here, which is a great way to narrow down your search to focus on a specific borough or a specific area, a county. This is a great way to narrow down searches, especially in really large areas. Like say you're in New York City and you need to narrow it down to a specific borough, you can use the keyword feature to narrow that down. And we'll talk more about keywords in just a little bit. But let's say that we've identified the most relevant search terms for our need. So now we're ready to research using GrantStation searchable databases. Now, we always encourage grant seekers to start their research by looking at government-based funding, both state and federal, as these sources can often provide most, if not all, the funding you need. So at this point, let's go ahead and scroll up here on our website. And I'm going to go ahead and leave our project tab. And as you can see right here at the very top, we have Find Grant Makers. And this is where you can access all the various ways to search on GrantStation. So we have our U.S. charitable, we have our U.S. federal, U.S. state government, Canadian charitable, Canadian government, and also international charitable. So at this point, let's go ahead and click on U.S. federal. Now, right now, there is a lot of flux going on right now in the world of federal grants. So this may not be the best area to focus on right now, but this is a feature that until a few weeks ago was very, very effective and a very efficient way of finding funding that's available from the federal government. Everything that was listed on grants.gov is what we have here. And this is everything that you can then search through in one location. You don't have to go to grants.gov and look for federal funding. You can find all that information here, save it to your dashboard, and find those links to apply all directly from the GrantStation interface. And the way you can use this section is by searching by eligible applicants, areas of interest, funding agencies and application deadlines, also by keyword, funding opportunity number, and CFDA number. Now, I know that for our specific project, again, this is our animal welfare project, there's nothing really being offered by the federal government that fits our need. So we can move on to the next aspect of funding, and this is U.S. state government, which I'll go ahead and click on right now. And this is a really powerful section that we have, and it's a really tremendous resource as well, because this section of the website provides our members with a listing of agencies that provide support in the form of grants, loans, contracts, technical assistance, and more. So to begin, you select a state, and then in our case, we're going to select Pennsylvania because that's where we're based at. And then we'll see all the different potential local resources that are available to my organization. So up here at the very top, we have a general resources section. This is great for finding information for putting together a needs statement, such as census data or county profiles. And on the right-hand side, we see our little key here. Lets us know what types of support we have. And the C is contracts, G is grants, I is information, etc. And then from there, it's broken down into the individual category heads. These are the category heads that I showed you earlier in the search section. It's the exact same information. Again, once you have those search terms, finding funding becomes so much easier. I know we have some new people on today, so keep that in mind. Once you have your search terms, hold on to them because they are going to help you no matter where you go trying to find funding. So looking down here, we can look at environment and animals, which is probably the best fit for our specific need. We can see that there's information being offered, there's grants being offered, technical support being offered, even loans being offered in this category. But again, I've gone through these. And of course, at any moment, you can save them to your dashboard. But all these links take you directly to the funding opportunity page. We have saved you so much time by going through all the different state pages and collecting all the state-based resources. This is something very unique to GrantStation as well. And what's great is even if you don't find something that fits your specific need, this is important information to collect. Because when you apply to private funders, you can say that you've done your federal and state research. And in case you don't find any options like ours, you can say, at this time, there are no federal or state programs that can help us with our need. That way, the private funder knows that you've done your homework, which really speaks to your credibility as an organization, and that private funding is really the only option. So once you've completed your government research, you can now move on to our U.S. charitable database. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up here. I'll close this window. And then here we are back at the top of the Find Grant Makers page. We're currently on U.S. state government. We can go ahead and move into U.S. charitable, but you can also navigate this by clicking on Find Grant Makers and then clicking the links that way. So there's two ways to access things here at GrantStation to make it easy for you. So let's go ahead and click on U.S. charitable at this point. Now, we recently added a new feature, in fact, just for today's webinar. We decided to sort of debut it today, so you are all the first to really see this information. We've added a new way to find funders, and we have GS verified profiles and 990 PF information. Now, GS verified profiles means that our team of researchers has crafted these funder profiles based on their website, annual reports, audited financials, 990 reports, and even personal relations that we have after having done this for more than 25 years. Now, what we also have is 990 PF information. Now, these is funders that aren't GS verified, but have filed a 990. And if we click on 990 PF information, again, this is a new feature that we added. You can search this by looking up the funder name, the EIN number. You can exclude funders who've terminated or filed a final return, and you can include funders potentially open to grant requests. 990 is a very, very handy form, and if you do any kind of grant research, I strongly encourage you to read our articles that we have that explain the 990 and how it works. But basically, the 990 allows you to see who a funder has given money to in the past. And what this tool has done is, let's go ahead and just type in foundation, because that's going to be the easiest one to do. And we're going to go ahead and hit submit at this point. And it pulls up the 04 Arts Foundation. Now, they're based in San Antonio, Texas. We can see what locations are receiving grants. If we click on their name, We can then see what organizations actually received grants, and we can divide that down by tax year as well. So we can see they've given $250 to the Rockport Center for the Arts. We can see they gave Earth Justice in San Francisco $100. They gave the National Trust for Historic Preserve in Washington, D.C. $75 for art education. This is an incredibly handy way to see everything available about a funder based on their 990 form. Now, you can always go into the IRS's website and find it, but again, GrantStation is about saving you time. So we've gone through that and done that information for you, and you can find that in this new feature that we've added, which is our 990 PF tool. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this one, though, and go back to our GS verified accounts. And at this point, I think I'm going to have Carrie take over and walk us through how to use this section.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Jeremy. So the U.S. Charitable Giving Database has thousands of funder profiles, and this includes independent, family, community, corporate foundations. There are corporate giving programs, faith-based grant makers, giving circles, associations that have grant making programs, and then even some funders that are just listed as other sources. So the profiles we have are searchable by geographic scope, areas of interest, types of support, the funder's name, and even by keywords. In the content area on the left here, you'll see a quick guide that'll help you through the search process. And then on the right is the navigation area where you enter your own search criteria. Under geographic scope here, you can choose to search for global grant makers giving to U.S. organizations, which increases the collection of options that we have available. But for now, let's click on Pennsylvania from our earlier search scenario. And then let's choose national grant makers. So we now have 624 results. And when we add national, that brings us up to 2,319 results. So as each criteria is added or subtracted, it broadens or narrows the funding opportunities that are being displayed. This initial process here of choosing our geographic scope allows us to cast our search net as wide as possible, combining national opportunities with state-based ones to really see just how many funders might be able to support our need. And then once we start selecting other criteria, our results will then begin to narrow to funding opportunities that are hopefully a more perfect fit for our needs. And if you want a bit more information on how this search operates, you can click on the Learn More in the upper right here. And with that, I think we're ready to select some areas of interest from our earlier search scenario, which was animal welfare. Let's start with that. And you'll find that under Environment and Animals, and it's the third click box. So once we click that, we'll see that our results have narrowed to 159. So let's add another criteria here and see what happens. How about this time from, let's say we're looking for a specific type of support. And let's go for general operating, which is also right in the middle there. Okay, so once we add that, we are narrowed down to 40 results. And if you want to narrow this search even more, we can remove national from the geographic search area by clicking the minus button that's right next to USA, and then focus on those funders that are specifically giving in Pennsylvania. So once we do that, we are narrowed to 14 results. And I'd like to quickly point out the keyword search at the bottom of this page here, which I believe Jeremy touched on briefly earlier. While the keyword search here is a great way to narrow your searches, let's say you're looking for funding in a specific county or borough or a very specific area of interest, we suggest that you exercise caution when using that tool so that you don't narrow your searches down too much. Remember that the keywords that you enter may not necessarily be the words that a funder would use.
And moving back up here at the top, we're looking at our current search criteria again. I hope you can see how easy this is to use. You simply add and subtract by clicking boxes and clicking minus signs. I mean, that's how you do all your searching here at GrantStation. So let's add back in national grant makers just to show you how easy it is. We'll click that link. Or click that button actually, and then at the very top we can see we're back up to 40 results. Personally, I like to have about 20 results to go through, so I don't end up having to just keep looking at grant after grant after grant. This is why we have this whole system for basically seeing how big your grant world is and then narrowing it down to that perfect funding just for your organization or just for your specific project that you need. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of these particular funders that we've got. And actually what you can see right here, this is really handy, is the NA, little NA note right here. And that's just because I indicated this profile was not a good fit when I last reviewed it. And of course you can change this at any time. This lets you know at a glance not to spend your time looking at this funder. And you may be going through the database and find this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working. There's so many things that aren't a good fit for me. You can always mark them as NA if you like. Then you know not to look at them. Or if someone's going to be replacing you in your organization, or maybe you're moving on, or someone else needs to access the information that you have, this lets them know at a glance, this is not what you need to look at. You need to look at some of the other things that we have saved. So one that I've actually already saved to my dashboard is the American Fundraising Foundation Golden Pear Award Grants. And we can see that they give primarily across the USA. And they have specific app deadlines in July 16, 2024, but the 2025 deadline will be available shortly here in the spring, somewhere between now and probably within the next 4 or 5 months, it'll come up. You can always sort everything by clicking on this little tiny little arrow right here at the very top where it says Grant Maker. You can also search by geographic scope as well by clicking on this heading. But let's click on American Fundraising Foundation and take a look at what an actual profile looks like here on GrantStation. So here on this profile, you can see that there's a direct link to visit the website. There's social media links here as well. You can, of course, always unsave it. Currently, I have this one saved. In fact, let's go ahead and unsave it at this point. And yes, I definitely want to unsave it. And once it's been unsaved, I can also mark it as an A. I can print the profile out, and I can email the profile as well. So here on the left-hand side, this is all the application guidelines. We can see that they provide unrestricted support, which is pretty great for arts and culture, social services, and for our interests, specifically animal welfare. We can see that the application guidelines are also available on their website under application procedures. And on the right-hand side, we can see more specific information, who to contact there, what's their grant range, what's the application information, what type of grant maker is it, can I view their 990, and there's usually a link to the 990. Then at the very bottom, there's even a last updated date. In this case, lets us know when this particular profile was last updated. It's right about time to go through another update process here at GrantStation. One thing that's really great about this is once we found a funder that looks like a good fit, in this case, this is a good fit for us, we can go ahead and save this to our dashboard. And more specifically, we can save this to a specific project that we made. That's why I made the project earlier. And we can do that by clicking on Save. And then once we've clicked Save, we can go ahead and choose from the pop-up which project we want to save it to. We're going to save it to the Animal Welfare Project. We can give it a priority of high, medium, and low. Let's give it a high priority. Then I can add in any specific notes if I need to as well. I'll go ahead and save this. And now I have saved this particular profile to my dashboard. So keep in mind the American Fundraising Foundation. That will be our guide through this next section where we take a look at everything we have on the dashboard. So I think at this point, it's a good idea to talk about that dashboard that I mentioned earlier and I showed you earlier. And of course, Carrie, could you please walk us through this section?
I definitely can. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to navigate over to the dashboard section here. So as we mentioned earlier, you can develop project descriptions, you can save your search criteria, you can save individual funders, and you can even track the status of your application process all through your custom dashboard. So I'm going to have Jeremy pull up a few of the sections in here so that you can get an idea of what to expect. And we've already covered the project section here. So let's navigate over to saved criteria and have a look around. You can select some search criteria and then name and save your searches. Once that's in your dashboard, you can click the name you gave it to rerun the search. This allows you to keep the terms that were most effective in finding funders for your programs so that you can run those again in the future and see if there are any new opportunities available. Okay, so now let's hop over to the Saved Grant Makers tab. When you're looking at grant makers, when you're doing searches, you'll see that you can save a funder to your dashboard, either from the list of results or directly from the profile itself. So this tab here shows you all those grant makers that you've saved to your dashboard. You can see their name, the project you've assigned it to, the priority you've assigned it, their application deadlines, if they have any, along with any specific notes that you might need to make. You'll also see something called the decision matrix right in the middle here. So the decision matrix is a tool that'll help you prioritize your leads so that you're focusing on those with the likeliest possibility of success and hopefully the least amount of effort. The key is to figure out the potential return on the investment of writing a proposal and then managing the award. Jeremy, would you be able to show us how that functions?
Yeah, it's a really great little feature that we have built into GrantStation, and you can use this tool for any type of grant. You can add your own grant. We'll show you how to do that in just a second when we get to the My Plan stage. But the way Decision Matrix works really, what it does is it again saves you time and lets you narrow your energy and strength into just what's a good fit for your specific needs. Maybe you've ran into the situation where someone says, I found a great grant for you, you should apply for it. And then you say, okay, great, I'll write a grant. And then you realize this isn't a good fit. I should have really looked at this in greater detail. I didn't have time to really look at it. Well, that's what Decision Matrix is all about. It's how to streamline your time and just basically answering a few easy questions and using a sort of arbitrary rating system, you'll end up with an idea of whether it's a good fit or not a good fit. And it starts off with mandatory criteria. This is where you go ahead and decide, okay, so do I meet your eligibility requirements? And is the funding consistent with our mission? You have to answer yes to both of them. Once you have, then you know you can move forward. If you answer no, really rethink this. And this is why it's really handy if someone says, apply for this grant. You can say, great, let me run it through the matrix and see if it's a good fit for our organization. Then you have your scored criteria. It's broken down into various category heads, such as funding, sort of the funder's priorities. Are we in the funder's geographic giving area? Do we serve their target population? Do we provide the type of support they need? And this is where you give it a rating. So in this case, with the funder that we know we're looking at right now, we're in their geographic giving area because they give across all the US. Do we address their funding area of interest? Oh, definitely. Do we serve the target population? They didn't specifically say seniors, but they didn't not say seniors. So I'll go ahead and give that a 1. Does the funder provide the type of support needed? They do, the specific type that we're looking for. So we'll go ahead and give that one a 3 as well. And then you go through credibility and readiness, adding in those specific numbers, and then effort and timing. And once you've put this all in, you go ahead and save it, then you'll end up with a score. And then that score is really easy. You simply take a look at these numbers. If it's 0 to 15, consider dropping them from your list. If it's 16 to 30, these could be backup funders for you. And if it's 31 and above, get going on these applications. These are a good match for your organization. So I'm going to go ahead and save this at this point. And then once it's saved, we can see that number then pop up right here. And of course, I didn't fully go through it, but this is a 9. So since it's a 9, this is probably one that I could, forget about and not really focus on. But here's one that's a 31. This is a good fit for my specific needs because I already ran the decision matrix on it. This one's also a good fit. And I can see I actually already assigned this to a project. And you can even sort through this by the specific project you're looking for and, finding what's a good fit to add to my plan. So Carrie, I don't want to take up any more of what you have to say, so where should we go from here?
Let's go to My Plan.
Oh, look at that. It's almost as if we rehearsed this. Let's go ahead and click on Add to My Plan, and I'll have Carrie take us through it.
Okay, great. So the My Plan section is a list of those grant opportunities that you've saved for a visual overview of the dates that you need to monitor to help you stay on track of your grant application submissions. You can track the progress of each opportunity, which then allows you to take your research and move it into action. So let's go into one of these plans and have a quick look around. How about we go into the American Fundraising Foundation? So of course, we have the name of the funder, which project this funder fits, the priority of the application, the status, such as if you've submitted an LOI or an application or it's been approved, the amount of the request, and then there are multiple date fields below that to keep you on track when working on your applications. So think of the My Plan section here as your Grant Central station, if you will, of keeping a visual look at the comings and goings of your grants. On the main My Plan page here, you can export dates to your calendar software, or you can export data from your various dashboard sections at any time as well. And just as a final note, we're always adding and incorporating members' feedback, so new features may appear in the dashboard at any time.
And this is actually where you could also add your own grant maker. And it's just like the other projects that I've shown you. You start with putting in your own grant maker name, assign it to a project if you like, do the priority, the status, the application deadlines. Then you can add in all that specific information as well, as far as the draft, submit, and expected decision date fields. So those are all options that you have access to from your dashboard. And this is why the dashboard is such a powerful part of your membership here at GrantStation. So let's go ahead and go back to our search. But a cool way to do it is, because I already made some saved criteria, and I showed you that earlier. Clicking on saved criteria, I made one that is actually assigned to the Animal Welfare Project, and I made it so it's focused on product donation. I'm going to go ahead and run this. And again, I made this about a little over 2 years ago. Oh my gosh, is that 2 years ago? Time flies. We'll click on run at this point. And now we've ran this search. Our geographic scope is across the US and Pennsylvania. Our area of interest is animal welfare, and a specific type of support here is product donation. So let's go ahead and take a look at what popped up here. We can go ahead and again click the grant maker name and sort by their name right now, and that'll organize it just by clicking that. We can also sort by geographic scope, and then of course we can then see the app deadlines. So here's one that I have saved to my dashboard already, as you can see, and that's the Purina Corporate Giving Program. Now, looking at the geographic scope, they give within St. Louis, Missouri, and other communities with manufacturing facilities. So, well, again, I'm in Pennsylvania, and this is not exactly a good fit for me. And I know there's no manufacturing facility in my area. But we also have a note here in the geographic scope that the Product Donation Disaster Relief Program provides support throughout the U.S. Okay, well, maybe I should look at that a little bit closer. I'll go ahead and click on that name, go into that profile itself, the Purina Corporate Giving Program. Scroll down the list, and if you look right here, we can see here product donations, and they donate products to pet welfare organizations throughout the country. So this would work well for my needs. So I'd go ahead and save this to my dashboard and then go through the whole process that I showed you earlier. So it's a really great way to identify funding and finding a good way to do it. Now, one thing I wanted to quickly mention is something that did pop up, or actually was mentioned to me by Aretha actually today, is she was trying to find funding. And there's lots of ways to find funding in GrantStation. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time doing a couple more searches here. You don't have to do it how we're showing you to do it. You can do it any way you like, but we're showing you one of the best ways to do it that we feel is the best way to use it. And we built GrantStation, so we feel it's the best way to do it, but you don't have to do it that way. We give you that freedom. So I always like to start by choosing national grant makers, give across all states. And then I like to choose my specific state. Again, that's to see how big my world is. But as Carrie said, you can also choose global grant makers that give across, the entire world. And that really improves the size of the types of the grant pool you can dig through, and then add in those specific areas of interest. But what you can also do is right down here is do a search by funder name. So if you know the name of the funder, you can simply enter in that name right here. If you aren't sure of their name, you can put in a couple words and it might use fuzzy logic to pull something up. You can also search by keyword, but the trick is when you're using a keyword, that may not be the word the funder uses. So looking for like animal livestock support may not be listed. But livestock is listed. That's why I encourage you to go ahead and get in the same page as the fundraiser, as a grant maker, by looking at the search terms that we have in the database. But let's say that we are, in fact, we are in the US, and I'm trying to think of where's a good place to do this. So Carrie, you're based in what state are you based in right now, Carrie?
I'm in Oregon.
In Oregon. Okay. So we'll start by clicking on Oregon. And I know that there's a nonprofit that you work for, and it involves being outside, right? I'm not an outside person. So
yeah.
So tell me about your organization and what it is they do.
I used to volunteer for the Surfrider Foundation. Kevin still does, and they do like clean water initiatives, beach cleanups, other environmental areas.
Excellent. So this is how a search can work. We've added in USA, we've added in the specific state we're trying to focus in on, and now we're going to add in our specific areas of interest. So I know that this is under environment and animals, but I don't want to go through the keyword because, Jeremy, that takes too much time. So here under environment and animals, you can hover over any of these little eyes right here, lets you know specifically what we have under that topic. So here's air, water quality, endangered species, environmental education. A lot of this stuff would work with what Carrie just mentioned. It could be even marine issues, rivers, lakes, and wetlands, possibly wilderness based on how close it is. Let's say we're doing something focused on, let's do environmental education at this point. So we click that link, see what we're looking at, 105 results. Let's narrow this down further. This is where we can really get into really hone this to our specific need. So maybe we're doing something involving children with education or walking the beaches. So we'll add children in as our targeted population. So now we're looking at 55 results. Well, let's add in another feature that we haven't talked about yet, and this is another thing you can do when you're doing searches, and that's using application deadline. So let's say you're looking for only funders that are going to be available or are going to be in the next 30 days or next 180 days, or maybe you want funders that don't have any deadlines at all. So you can go ahead and start looking at them now and see who's a good fit. So now we're still looking at 17 results based on all these different areas of interest. But the more areas of interest you select, the more narrow your results become. So if you find yourself not getting results because you've selected too many things, just take a step back and remove one search term, and then you'll have more results. So if I remove funders without deadlines by clicking the minus sign next to it, I'm now looking at 55 results. And then I can narrow this down by adding in a different type of thing. I can add in a specific type of support if I'm looking for. And at this point, let's say I was looking for funding for a for-profit organization, but it's grayed out. Well, this means based on these search terms that we have up here of USA, Oregon, environmental education with a focus on children and youth, there is no funding that we have listed for-profit organizations, and the same for internships. But we do have funding available in all these other areas that aren't grayed out. So as you're doing your research, we let you know at a glance what's available and what's not available. Again, GrantStation is focused on making your life faster and easier when you're doing your grant research and making things much smoother for you, so you're not wasting time trying to find funders that may not even be willing to accept your application because everything we have on our website is actionable, and B, aren't a good fit just for a specific thing, such as maybe they don't want to focus on children and youth. This will save you time as you go about doing your research. So just keep this in mind. This is a great way to search through using all the different features we have at GrantStation. And of course, you can also search by the specific type of grant maker, say a corporate foundation or a foundation fund or trust. And you can also search even by location based on where the grant maker is at. You can see all the grant makers currently in your state, just as a general thing, removing everything else. So in fact, if I click clear all at this point, and I scroll back down to location of grant maker, I can see all the grant makers that we currently have based in Alaska, which is where I'm at. And then we can go through this list if I want to see what we currently have listed and all the different funders that are available. And again, if you look right here, here's an NA. So I know this particular funder is not a good fit for my needs as I'm going about and using the GrantStation website. So in addition to these US-based grant maker listings I've showed you, we also have 3 other unique areas to search through. That's our international and Canadian charitable database, along with our Canadian government section. So our international charitable database right here has profiles of grant makers provide support to, and they're very beneficial to US-based nonprofits that are doing work overseas. So say you're addressing the issue of education in Australia, for instance. We'll start by choosing the continent area. And then once we have that selected, we'll go ahead and move into the specific country, in this case, Australia. And then we can narrow that even further into a specific region within Australia. And let's say our focus is on Western Australia. And once we've narrowed down our scope to that, we can then add in a specific area of interest. And again, in this situation, I'm addressing an issue of education. And if we go to our education section, we can see at the very top, we have education general. And this means it's a focus of the funder is on general education issues, but it's not a specific area listed below this. So if you're just doing something you're not really sure about within a given category, there's always a general option to select. So we'll go ahead and choose a general option for this search. And then looking up here, we have a total of 66 results. We can narrow this down by adding in our other specific areas of interest. Maybe we'll add in a target population, or maybe something with a specific deadline or a specific type of support. That's how you can use this section. It's just like the US charitable section. In addition to the international section, we also have our Canadian charitable section. I'll go ahead and open that up, and it functions just like the other ones. We'll start with a provincial grant maker. And I know we had someone say they were in Calgary, but which province is that in? This is my geography test for the day. What province is Calgary in? I know someone just said it.
I'm embarrassed to admit I also don't know.
Does Kevin know? Kevin knows everything. Kevin probably knows
Alberta.
what it is. Alberta.
Everyone in
Okay.
Alberta.
Everyone,
Alberta.
they're like, you should know Alberta. It's like, I'm in Alaska. I should know this. I don't. I apologize. So, okay, there. We started with Alberta. Let's go ahead and add a national grant because we're across all different provinces. Again, we're seeing how big our grant world is. We're currently looking at about 802 results. Let's narrow this down to a specific area of interest. Let's say, I don't know, what are we doing? We're doing an arts project. So we'll go into arts, culture, and humanities. We'll click on just a general category again. Now we're looking at 138 results. That's way too many. Let's add in another area of interest. Maybe we're focusing on an after-school arts program, for instance, for children. We'll click that link. Then if we scroll back up, now we're looking at about 54 results. We can narrow it down even further. Again, adding in those specific keywords lets you narrow it down even further. It's very easy to do. You can then go through this, see what's a good fit, what's not a good fit. And that's how you can use the Canadian Charitable section. It's very easy to use. Once you have those keywords, once you know what you're looking for, everything goes so much faster. So we also have our Canadian government section, which we're going to talk about right now. This is government grants and loans across Canada, which provides listings of national and provincial departments and agencies that offer financial and technical assistance programs. And you can visit the National Opportunities page right here. This will give you a chance to sort of take a look at the programs that give across all of Canada. And then, of course, you can pick a specific province to take a look at. And as I now know forever, Alberta is the one I'm going to take a look at. And from here, we have a complete page broken down into contracts, grants, information, and loans, etc., that are available throughout Alberta. So again, this is very unique to GrantStation and something that saves you so much time going to all these different types of state-based sites. We have all the links here for you, and we sort of qualified what's available on every single page as well. So I'm going to scroll back up here. I'm going to go ahead and close this window, scroll back up to the top of the page and click on our logo. That'll always take you back to the homepage of GrantStation. And although we really pride ourselves on leveling the playing field through easy to use, time-saving searches for funders that are actively engaged, we also offer in-depth long-term guides for building your grants program. So our build strategy section, which is right here, this provides a complete walkthrough of articles that'll help you build a solid grant-seeking strategy. Now that you've assembled a list of potential funders, again, this is known as primary research, you're ready to begin secondary research, which is really seeing how good of a fit these potential funders are. Now, you can find articles in this section that explain the type of web research to do, how to develop your grant program, policies, and team, along with how the IRS 990 form fits into secondary research, how to create a grant-seeking calendar, how to create time for all these things I'm telling you that you have to do now, and so much more. This is a great resource that walks you through how to build a grant strategy if you do not have one. And continuing on from our build section, we also have our write proposals section. I'll go ahead and click on the overview here on this one. This is where you're going to find step-by-step tutorials that you can use to write a strong proposal from beginning to end with examples, templates, and resources. Now, a quick note, GrantStation does not write grants for you. We provide you with all the research so you can apply for grants yourself. But we also provide a great way for how to write if you've never done it before. And we have a few people who mentioned they're new to grant seeking and grant writing. This is the section for you. It talks about getting started, how to develop your proposal, all the parts of the proposal, and even how to write effectively as you're going about writing a grant proposal. And even more specifically, you say to me, Jeremy, I have no idea what an award-winning proposal looks like. Well, guess what? We have you covered because we have a collection of award-winning proposals that go back over multiple years. I'll go ahead and click on this link and show them all to you. This is available to you as a member of GrantStation to see what's currently working. Members have access to all these award-winning proposals, and reading successful grants will really help you develop your own proposal writing skills. And GrantStation provides you with this multi-year archive of government and private examples. And they're broken down into various categories, and you can see the full proposal they submitted, and then you can see what's currently working. So this is another part of your membership here at GrantStation, but now it's something that's not a part of your membership, and that's our online education section. So our online education section is available here from the top of the page, and all of our webinars are not included with your membership, but they are available at an affordable cost for individuals or groups to participate in. Now, all attendees receive access to not only the webinar, but also a recording of the entire session, along with any of the presenter's notes. And you can also purchase past webinars in case you've missed them and want to take advantage of our vast library of resources in that manner. So looking down this list, we have everything here from demystifying budgets to a series we have on AI for nonprofits, about nonprofit consulting, what's the grant cycle. We offer free webinars on a regular basis. We actually have this webinar that we're taking right now. We'll be offering this one again later in February. You're welcome to take that again as well and listen to me and Carrie and Kevin wax philosophical about things. And you can also find things about the Major Grant Starter Kit, Strategic Planning 101, all types of topics that you may want to know more about. They're all available as part of our webinar offerings. But we also have people who may not have that much time. They don't have an hour and a half to invest. They maybe have a half hour. And that's where our Target Ed section comes in. This is for a quick dip into a subject offered on Mondays. It's 30 minutes long, and it covers a wide range of topics, from building a proposal writing team to a series we have going on right now that's all about how AI can be used as a tool to help you secure grant awards. It's a really fascinating series. And if you're interested, I strongly encourage you to take a look at this Target Ed series, AI for Nonprofits. And if you're interested in learning on your own, we also offer web-based courses that you can take at your own speed, along with a go at your own pace video course called Turbocharge Your Grant Writing Skills. It covers the entire process of searching, writing for, and applying for grants, along with management, step by step, with our President of Education and Outreach, Alice Runke. She's a longtime grant writer, an expert in the field, and this is available if you want to basically learn how to do it. If you're brand new and you don't know how to do this, this is the class for you to take. And it's on-demand lessons, on-demand video learning, and everything is available for you all through your GrantStation account. So up next is our public resources section. Everything in this section is freely available to people, even if you're not a member of GrantStation. We do offer 3 specific newsletters you may not know: the weekly GrantStation Insider, also our bi-monthly Canadian Insider, and our bi-monthly International Insider. And on top of that, we also have our Trend Track section. This is where you can find our state of grant seeking, actually, and that's a report that spotlights recent developments in funding, so organizations can be more strategic in their grant seeking. And there's also a key analytics tool that can be used by all organizations. They feature data by organizational budget size, mission focus, government, and even non-government based funding. And also our Insights blog, as I mentioned before, is right above our benchmarker. And this is a home of our benchmarker tool, which I'll talk about in just a second when we go over all of our tool features that we have here. And also this leads me into the PathFinder section. Now, the PathFinder is an accessible and searchable library that provides profiles on top quality resources covering the areas of grant research, writing, and management, as well as strategic planning. So as a member, everything you find in this section can be saved to your custom dashboard. Otherwise, you can simply see what's available. So here's a resource right here, how grant makers and grant makers communicate to change the world. You can read more about this resource and then find the link to find out more about it. This includes resources on GrantStation and resources all across the web. And again, they're broken down into topic, and then you can even choose the topic and then the format and see the results accordingly, add them to your dashboard, and really enhance your learning as a philanthropy professional. Now, after public resources and after the PathFinder, which is one of our tools, I want to talk about 2 more tools that we have. And that one I mentioned a second ago is the benchmarker. Now, this tool is based on information that's pulled from the annual State of Grant Seeking Survey. It's a resource that can strengthen your ability to secure grant awards by providing a realistic framework for your grant seeking plans and goals. So you can use this report to set grants program objectives, which define how much to pursue, and from which types of grant makers. So if you scroll down here, you answer a couple quick questions, and then you'll get a customized, a customized report, basically. So we click the small budget, education. You can, of course, customize it more, but we have a limited amount of time, of course. I'll click on see the basic report for now. And from here, you can compare yourself to other organizations. So based on my focus of education, the majority of these organizations are 26 to 50 years old. So it's a great way to see, oh, okay, this is what's going on. These are the trends. If you like data, this is for you. Some people love to dig into data and analytics, and this is the section for you to use. But in addition to tools, as I mentioned, we have another one which many people aren't aware of, and I love this tool. It's in our build strategy section, and it's called the R3. It's a revenue review and report. If you need a report for your leadership that's easy to read, accurate, and visually appealing, you can use this tool to help realize grants potential for your organization. You can review where your funding is coming from today, project where it will be in the future, and even receive recommendations on next steps to take. So if you remember from my dashboard, we have a report section. I'll go ahead and click on the report section. I ran this one earlier just so you can visually see it. We won't spend too much time on this because, of course, I'm running out as I usually am. We're going to view this report. And of course, you can always edit a report that you've created and run through it later. I entered in information for 2024 and 2025, a current and projected. You can visually see that money broken down into my current revenue and my projected revenue coming in. You can see my current grant revenue and my projected grant revenue coming in, and even my current non-grant revenue and then projected non-grant revenue. It's a great visual guide alone, but then go one step further. Based on the numbers you entered, you'll receive customized recommendations on how to diversify your portfolio. So this is an incredibly basic, it's like having someone take a look at what your plan is and saying, you should add this, or you're doing great here. This is a great area to think you should strengthen up in. And it's broken down into each of these specific areas. You can learn more about them. Funding from local businesses, corporate giving programs, community foundations, corporate foundations. This is all incredibly useful and available to you as a member of GrantStation, one of our powerful tools that you have access to when you log in to your GrantStation account. So I'll go ahead and click on our logo here, take us back to the homepage of GrantStation. And an important thing to remember, though, is that if you are doing a search for funding for any kind of project, it's really good to identify the best grant makers and search terms to use in your approach. Using GrantStation, I hope, shows you how you can apply your time where it's most effective and efficient in your search for funding. And finally, if you have any further questions and you want to ask us something specific, you can always click on help, contact us directly. You can email us, you can call us toll free, you can even fax us, send us a what was the, what is the joke I completely am blanking on right now? Postcard. Send us a postcard if you like to. Sometimes I don't remember all my jokes. And here's a list of all the people who work here at GrantStation and what they do and where they're currently based at, because we're a completely cloud-based company. So going back to the home page, I, of course, have taken way too much time, but I'm sure we can fit in a couple questions as we wind up today's look at GrantStation. So Kevin, I will give the floor to you, and you can ask anyone you want to answer a question.
Yeah, Jeremy, I think we've answered a lot of them as they've rolled in, but a couple maybe we could go over. One person was asking about corporate giving programs. What
Sure.
if I just wanted to see those?
Well, that's really easy. Head into your U.S. charitable section. And of course, let's say we're going to ignore everything Jeremy told you, which is fine. You don't have to. You can go ahead and go into type a grant maker, and you're just looking at, what was it, corporate giving programs you said?
Yep.
Okay, you'll just simply click that link and we'll see all the corporate giving programs that we currently have listed within our database. And then you can
Yep.
narrow that down by adding in specifics as well.
Thanks, Jeremy. And one of the cool things about the corporate giving programs is a lot of other grant search databases out there. They're just auto pulling information from the IRS Form 990s. These corporate giving programs aren't formulated as a foundation. They don't have a Form 990. So these are the types of programs you're just not going to be finding in those situations where places are just auto pulling data from the IRS. So that's definitely a great place to look. And another cool thing about these corporate giving programs is that they do offer funding in a lot of specific communities. You know, if there is a, Jeremy Smith sporting goods shop in your community, they'll probably fund in that community. So you can sort of search in that regard. And then Jeremy, the next question, and it's one we get all the time. People are like, can multiple people in my organization log in through the same login email?
It is a common question, and the answer is no. But if you need multiple people to log in, you can just contact us and we can work out and figure out a way to make that work for you. And the reason why we say no is because that dashboard is unique to you, and having multiple people share a dashboard makes things very confusing. Now, you can make multiple projects and you can divide them up accordingly that way. But if you have one person marking stuff as NA or marking something as good to follow, then another person logs in and is like, wait, why is this information there? It shouldn't be there in the first place. This is all wrong. We don't have separate profiles when you log in, which is why we recommend you have a separate login if you need that for your organization. But another thing to keep in mind, and I'm not going to tell you how to run your organization, it's good to have one person be that central repository of information for grants. The one person does that research. One person has that access. So we tend to recommend that only one person have access to it. But if you need multiple accounts, reach out to us and we can find something that'll accommodate you.
Great, thanks, Jeremy. Now, Carrie, either you or I can handle this next one. I think I addressed it a little bit earlier in the chat, but as you know, there was a lot of chat. How comprehensive is the database?
I'd say it's pretty comprehensive right now. Especially with this new tool, the new 990 PF information button there. You know, that's pulling everything that's every organization that's filed a 990 PF. So, you know, that's a lot. But yeah, as we mentioned, we have, you know, corporate giving programs, giving circles, associations, just so many different types of funding.
Yep, exactly. And I put it in the chat earlier. We have almost 9,000 US opportunities, over 4,000 international opportunities around the globe. So we have approximately 13,000 of these vetted profiles that have open grant programs. They're not closed door shops. Then we have that 990 PF tool. In the near future, we will be putting in a tool that also has insights on the general 990. Organizations like community foundations and some other entities don't file the PF because they're not a private foundation, but they are a foundation, and we'll have that information coming down the pipeline in the near future as well. So a lot of information out here, lots of opportunities, and a lot of grants. Now, Jeremy, we did have one just roll in. Someone said, how does GS compare to Candid's FDO? Do we usually handle these comparison sort of questions, or is that
Well,
outside of
sometimes
our
we
reach?
do. I mean, it all depends on how you approach. The biggest thing about GrantStation is we're very affordable. $119 is how much it'll be for GrantStation. I'll go ahead and click on this link right up here. And that'll be available on February 11th and 12th. So normally it's $6.99 for access to GrantStation for a year, and now you can pick it up for $119 for a year of access through TechSoup. So if you are not a member of TechSoup, you should definitely you should become a member of TechSoup, even if you don't take advantage of this. If you're 501c3, you should be a member of TechSoup. But this is probably the biggest difference between the two of us is that we are very affordable and we're also a strong partner of TechSoup. So I strongly encourage you to look at it in that way. If you want an actual nitty gritty breakdown of exactly how we're different from Candid and any of our competition out there, we could definitely do that, but it's not any place to do right here because we're just really trying to showcase GrantStation. And if you did want to do that, feel free to reach out directly to me through our contact page.
Yep. And the other thing there, Jeremy, a lot of times, I don't know if you caught this, but GrantStation doesn't have tiers. There's one
True.
subscription, and that's the same across the board. I was actually talking to Carrie about this morning with the corporate giving program and some of the corporate foundations. Those aren't available in FDO's base tier. You have to get the higher tier to get access to that information. But we, don't have different levels. You become a GrantStation member, you're a platinum GrantStation member right off the start.
Everything I've shown you, you have access to as a member of GrantStation.
Yep. Exactly. We did have another question. Someone was asking about that username stuff that you went over. I know there was a lot. If you have any questions about the membership, feel free to reach out to info@grantstation.com. Or Jeremy, can you take us to the contact us page?
I will. So here is that page. Here is that email address, infograntStation.com. And if for some reason you thought, well, you know what, Jeremy, I love your voice so much. I want to hear it more. Well, if you go to our help page and you click on how to videos, but you also not only love my voice, you also want to learn more about grant seeking, you can click on how to videos and we'll be adding more videos here, including mission focused videos, finding funding for specific purposes, ways to use GrantStation more effectively. Currently, we have this one up with myself and Carrie. We're sort of your guide to GrantStation, which is what we went over today. But we'll be adding more and more videos here, and always feel free to reach out to us directly. We're more than happy to help and answer any questions that you may have.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. And with that, I think we are over time already. Thank you all for the great questions. Aretha and Jeremy, do you want to wrap it up? And if we didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. Please feel free to reach out to us at info@grantstation.com and we can help you out.
And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I hope this was educational. Hope this was helpful for you. Hope you've made a decision that GrantStation is the right one for you. If not, that's okay. Go ahead and sign up for our free newsletter in that case. And then you can receive funding announcements sent to you on a regular basis. So that's my hard sell for the day. But I really encourage you, especially in this climate right now, GrantStation is a really good value. And especially coming up next week, I strongly encourage you to really consider purchasing a year of access to GrantStation through TechSoup. So as always, I am so thankful for TechSoup giving us this platform. And Aretha, as always, it's a pleasure to be with you. It's a joy to work with you. And you know so much about TechSoup. And Aretha, if you're going to say one last thing, please make it be goodbye, so it's not just hanging up on everybody.
I want to thank Haley and Allison in the background. They're part of TechSoup. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, GrantStation, for being here. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.